Most people don't realize when they're getting rich because it rarely feels that way. It's not a sudden rush of success or a dramatic change in lifestyle, but a quiet shift that happens underneath ordinary days. You start making better choices, spending more intentionally, and slowly building a sense of control over your life. Real wealth grows in silence, not in what you show, but in what you sustain. In today's video, we'll explore 7 subtle signs you might be getting rich, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. Sign 1. You've mastered living below your means. Wealth rarely begins with a big paycheck. It begins with space. The space between what you earn and what you spend is where freedom quietly grows. When you live below your means, you're not restricting yourself. You're building room to breathe, to plan, and to choose. You stop chasing every new expense that promises happiness and start noticing how good it feels to be in control. The real magic happens when your lifestyle stops expanding with your income. You no longer need to prove anything through what you own. And that silence, the absence of financial pressure, is wealth in disguise. It's the reason you can handle unexpected costs without panic, invest without guilt, and sleep at night knowing your future isn't fragile. Living below your means isn't a punishment for earning less. It's the mindset that ensures you'll always have more than enough, no matter how much you make. Sign 2. You think in terms of long-term gains, not quick wins. There's a shift that happens the moment you stop looking for shortcuts. You realize that wealth isn't something you stumble into. It's something you build, one deliberate decision at a time. While most people chase whatever promises instant results, the hot stock, the side hustle that's guaranteed to blow up, you've learned to look beyond the noise. You care less about speed and more about direction. You've stopped asking, how fast can I make money? And started asking, how can I make it last? Thinking long-term changes everything. It affects how you spend, how you invest, and even how you see failure. You stop judging progress by what happens in a week or a month, because you've started thinking in decades. You understand that compound growth, whether it's in your finances, your skills, or your relationships, rewards patience, not urgency. Most people underestimate what they can build in 5 years and overestimate what they can do in 1. But you flipped that script. This kind of mindset makes you calm when markets drop, focused when opportunities take time to mature, and resilient when plans don't go as expected. You know that consistency is the real superpower, and that impatience is the tax people pay for not understanding how time multiplies value. Sign 3. You've built a financial buffer and you don't talk about it. At some point, you stop wanting people to see your success. You just want to feel safe. That's when wealth starts taking a different form. It's not the car in your driveway or the phone in your pocket. It's the calm you feel, knowing you could lose your job tomorrow and still be okay. You've built a cushion between yourself and uncertainty, an emergency fund, a few months of expenses tucked away, or investments that quietly grow in the background. And while others brag about what they've bought, you take quiet pride in what you've secured. That's the thing about real wealth. It's invisible. You won't post a picture of your savings account or talk about your investment returns at dinner. Instead, your confidence shows in subtle ways. You don't panic when life throws a curveball, you don't dread the end of the month, and you don't rely on luck to fix bad decisions. The people around you might not notice anything special, but inside, you feel something most never do: stability. This buffer gives you more than financial safety. It gives you emotional freedom. You make choices based on what's right, not what's urgent. You're no longer a prisoner to every paycheck or every sale. You've bought yourself time, and time is the ultimate luxury. The truth is, money that sits quietly in the background is doing the loudest work of all, protecting your peace. Sign 4. You're earning more, without feeling the need to spend more. Something powerful happens when your income grows, but your desires don't. Most people, when they start earning more, immediately expand their lifestyle. A bigger apartment, better restaurants, nicer clothes. It feels like progress, but it's really just running in place. You, on the other hand, have started to notice how satisfying it is to not inflate your expenses with every raise. You enjoy the feeling of earning more without losing control, because you've learned that every dollar you don't spend has a job to work for you. This is where wealth quietly accelerates. Each time you resist the impulse to upgrade, you widen the gap between what you make and what you spend. That gap becomes your wealth engine. the part of your income that builds assets, pays down debt, and buys future freedom. And because your happiness no longer depends on consumption, you've stopped chasing validation through things. You don't need the newest phone or car to feel successful. You already feel it in the calm that comes from stability. This discipline is rare in a culture built on comparison, but you've realized that real confidence doesn't need to shout. You'd rather have money in the market than hanging in a closet. You'd rather see your balance grow than your expenses spiral. And while others trade comfort for appearance, you've chosen sustainability, a quiet kind of wealth that keeps multiplying, even when no one's watching. Sign 5. You've started seeing money as a tool, not a goal. At a certain stage, the chase for more begins to lose its meaning. You realize that money by itself doesn't fulfill you. It only amplifies what's already there. When you were just starting out, every paycheck felt like survival. But now, you've reached a point where your financial choices aren't driven by fear or scarcity. You think less about how much you have and more about what it allows you to do. That's when your relationship with money matures. You stop obsessing over numbers and start designing a life with purpose. You invest not just for returns, but for freedom. The freedom to spend time with family, to take a risk, to say no without guilt. You begin choosing value over vanity. You're willing to pay more for things that save time or improve your well-being, not because they make you look successful, but because they make your life better. This shift changes everything. You no longer see money as the finish line, but as the vehicle that helps you reach what truly matters. It becomes a silent partner, not a master. And the more you use it wisely, to buy time, peace, and meaning, the less you feel trapped by it. Sign 6. You're getting bored of talking about money. It's a strange thing. The moment you stop needing to think about money all the time is usually the moment you've started mastering it. When finances are unstable, every decision carries weight. You're constantly calculating, worrying, and adjusting just to stay afloat. But when you build systems that work, when your bills are automated, your savings grow by default, and your investments quietly do their job, money fades into the background. It's no longer a source of stress. It's just part of the rhythm of your life. You start noticing how freeing it feels not to care about the latest financial trend or the next get-rich opportunity. You've grown past the excitement of chasing shiny objects because stability has replaced chaos. You're no longer chasing dopamine, you're chasing peace. And while some might mistake that calm for complacency, it's actually a sign of control. True wealth isn't thrilling, it's predictable. The conversations that used to revolve around salaries, prices, and deals begin to shift toward purpose, growth, and meaning. Money becomes the quiet foundation, not the main topic. You're not indifferent to it. You've just integrated it so well into your life that it no longer demands attention. That's what financial maturity looks like. Money serving you silently while you focus on building the parts of life that no amount of money can buy. Sign 7. You feel rich in time, not just money. The final shift on the path to quiet wealth is realizing that time is the real currency. Most people spend their lives trading hours for dollars, constantly running out of both. But as your finances grow stronger, something begins to change. You start valuing slow mornings, meaningful moments, and the ability to say no to things that don't matter. The pressure to always be productive fades, replaced by a deeper desire for balance. You no longer chase busyness as a badge of honor. You seek space, calm, and time to think. This doesn't happen overnight. It starts when you use money to buy back fragments of your life, outsourcing small tasks, taking a break without guilt, or giving yourself permission to rest. You realize that every financial decision is ultimately a time decision. Each dollar saved, invested, or wisely spent is a step toward reclaiming your most limited resource. And this is where real wealth begins to feel tangible. Because money can lose value, but time never does. When you wake up knowing that your schedule belongs to you, not to debt, not to survival, not to someone else's priorities, that's when you've made it. Even if the world can't see it, you've reached a level of freedom that few ever experience. The ability to live life on your own clock. Wealth doesn't always announce itself. Most of the time, it feels ordinary, like small habits stacking quietly in the background while you live your life. You won't feel a sudden moment when it all clicks. You'll just notice that you worry less, think clearer, and sleep better. So if you've recognized even a few of these signs in your own life, take a moment to appreciate how far you've come. Because you're not standing still. You're rising. Quietly, steadily, on your own terms. If this video helped you see wealth in a new light, give it a like. It really supports the channel. And if you want to keep learning how to build true financial freedom from the inside out, make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching.